Good morning, everyone. It is time for the Merkle Retirement Minute, and joining us in studio right now, Lauren Merkle. Again, he is a certified financial planner from Merkle Retirement Planning with so many ideas and great things to keep in mind, especially if you're getting close to retirement age. And boy, we can see that from here, Jackie.
Absolutely, but there's certain things you want to think about. It's not just saving money so you can do what you wish after you retire. It's other little things we need to think about, like where's that money going to go after we're gone. So let's talk inheritances this morning, Lauren. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How does this fit when we're talking retirement planning? Isn't this just part of our will that we set up with our lawyer? How does this fit in with what you're talking about today?
The legacy planning component of the retirement plan. So there's 5 main components. Today's the legacy planning piece. And a lot of the things that we talk about on this segment is very much for people who are within the pre-retirement to retirement phase. But today, this is for everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. It doesn't matter what age you are, what phase of life that you're in, you can take something away from today. So we're going to give you some simple tips, simple ideas, things to think about for when that inevitable day comes, and it's going to happen to everybody. We're all going to have our last day. What happens to what you have left over? And Jackie, you mentioned the will.
And that's what I think of if I know, okay, after I'm gone, these are the people that are going to take on my debt after I die. That's how I'm planning right now. What are you talking about?
Well, let's talk about the will, because the will can do a lot of good things, but there's some misconceptions with the will and some things that a lot of people don't know about.
Okay.
The benefit of having a will is, if it's done right, is it should indicate where you want everything else to go when you're gone.
Which would make sense.
Which is a good thing. The disadvantage of a will is everything that goes through the will process goes through probate. Now, on the surface, probate is not a bad thing because it's just the legal process of making sure your wishes are fulfilled. That's a good thing, too. The disadvantage of probate, and now we're talking about the state of Iowa laws. Okay, so every state can be a little bit different. But in the state of Iowa, if your probatable estate is $25,000 or more, now your estate is mandated to hire an attorney. And in the state of Iowa, the most that an attorney can charge is 2% of your estate.
The value.
The value. So if you're no longer with us, what is most likely the attorney going to charge?
The max.
Most likely 2%. Now, sometimes they don't, and that's good, but a lot of times it's 2%. Now, to go through the court process, that's an additional fee. And just so think about anything that goes through probate, just call it about 3% in fees. Okay?
Right off the top.
Right off the top.
You're going to lose.
Right off the top. There's also a 6-month minimum time frame of which your assets will have to take to go through the probate process, because there has to be 2 public notices. And there has to be time separated.
Why is that the case? Why does there need to be a public
to make
notice?
sure that creditors are
taken care of.
Understand that you have passed, and here's an inventory list of the assets that you have.
Okay.
So these are really old traditional laws. So there has to be 2 public notices, and a lot of times it takes 12 months, 18 months for assets to transition through the probate process.
Oh my goodness.
And again, it's all public. So if you have any private wishes of items transferring to your kids or grandkids or siblings or whomever, it's all public. So what happens if you like the benefits of the will, right? The specific identification of where you want your assets to go, but you don't want all the negatives. That's where a trust could come into play.
Got it.
And that's considered legal in the state of Iowa.
It is considered legal in the state of Iowa. So with a trust, now you get the benefits of the will where you identify where you want your assets to go.
So you know who's getting what.
You know who's getting what, but now anything that goes through the trust process bypasses probate. So you don't have the 3% fee, you don't have the 6-month minimum time frame, and it's a private transaction. So you don't have to have the 2 public notices before your assets can transfer to whomever you want it to go to. Now, here's the one thing with a trust, though, is it cannot fulfill your wishes of who you want to be the guardian of your kids. So if you have kids that are minors, you want to make sure that that is identified within the will.
Okay.
So they all have their good, they all have their disadvantages. It's just a matter of what are you trying to accomplish.
So you would like to have both pieces of this.
Well, so if you have a trust, you also want a will.
Right.
Because it's called a pour over will, which will basically handle anything that the trust does not handle.
Okay.
Now, not everybody needs a trust. What if you like the benefits of the trust, but you don't like the disadvantage of the trust? Because the disadvantage of the trust is that you have to hire an attorney, to write the trust, and there's an upfront cost to that.
Right.
So here, it might cost you $1,500, $2,500 to write the trust.
Right, but that's usually a flat type fee as opposed to a percentage of what your value of your property is.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
But what if you like the idea of the trust, the private transaction, the efficiency of the transaction, not the minimum 6-month time frame, but you don't want to pay the $1,500, $2,500 to set up the trust.
Okay.
Now with your retirement accounts, IRAs, 401k plans, you can just title it the right way, and you can do what we call a multi-generational IRA, which means it'll go direct to the beneficiaries. It's the most efficient way to get that money to them.
Really?
And then they can stretch it out over the course of their lifetime so they can potentially pass it on to their kids and grandkids and so on and so on.
So it keeps on building.
So there's 3 main ways that you can transfer these assets. You can use the will, you can use the trust, or you can just simply title your accounts, or you can use a combination of all 3.
Kind of see what works best for you personally on what you're wanting to pass along after you go. And is that something you can help out with if you're titling IRAs or 401ks or all those? Excuse me for not maybe saying it right. But are you able to help with that, or do we need assistance from someone else in order to make those transfers?
We're not attorneys, so we don't actually write the will, we don't actually write the trust. But as a part of the legacy plan, we'll say, here's some of the language that you should consider within the will. Do you need a trust, or do you not need a trust? And then all of the IRAs that we set up are automatically set up as that multi-generational IRA.
They are,
regardless of what your will says, regardless of what whether or not you have a trust, because it's a no-brainer. When you have an IRA, you want to give your beneficiaries the most options that you possibly can. The multi-generational IRA does that.
What a great
and I know
idea.
you're not a lawyer, but let's talk about what happens if you don't do something like that. Like, why is the legacy part of retirement planning so important? What happens if you don't consider that when you're doing retirement planning?
Last year, we met a gentleman, and 3 months prior to us meeting him, his wife passed away.
Okay.
She had 2 different 401k plans. It was not titled the right way. $500,000 in each 401k plan. At that moment we met him, he had still not received that $1 million because it wasn't titled the right way. So that's his spouse that passed away.
Right.
So in essence, it should still be his money.
Correct.
But it wasn't titled the right way. 3 months later, he still did not have control over that money. Simple titling issue. That's all it was.
Now, were you able to rectify the situation, or is it still in
It took some time.
It took some time.
It took some time, as these issues do. But unfortunately, we see mistakes like that all the time. There's a lot of stories just like that.
Well, if nothing else, we should come in to make sure that what you have is properly formatted.
One of the first things that we do as a part of the overall retirement plan is review the legacy plan, because most of these mistakes are easy to fix. But the thing is, you have to fix them while you're alive.
Right.
Once you're gone, it's too late.
And I'm sure
Different
in sound
story.
mind as well. So you want to make sure and get that going. Now, I understand we're talking a lot of specifics here today, and it's all kind of individualized to the person of what the best case scenario is going to be for them. How can they learn more? Because I know you guys do an amazing workshop where people can come and learn about opportunities like this.
We teach quite a few classes, and what we're doing going forward is we're segmenting our classes. So now what we're going to do is we're going to teach a class specific to pre-retirees.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're going to teach a class specific to retirees.
Okay.
And then something we're doing brand new is we're teaching a class specific to women.
I like that.
So these are passport classes that are going to be just specialized.
The specialized based on the different phase or the things that you face within the course of your retirement. Because women face unique challenges from the standpoint they live longer typically.
Right.
And the last few years of one's life is usually where a lot of the costs come into play from a healthcare standpoint. Pre-retirees, they're worried about where their income's going to come from.
Right.
They're worried about tax mitigation. Retirees, they may have already taken their Social Security.
Right.
Right? So we're not talking about Social Security for the retiree type classes.
All right.
So we're really trying to customize the information that people receive in all of these different types of classes.
Now, when is your next passport class?
Our next class is tomorrow.
Tomorrow. All right.
It's full.
All right. Oh.
It's full.
These are popular classes.
Darn.
Our first women's class is Thursday this week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's full.
That one's full.
It's full.
All right.
But that's okay.
When can we sign up for the next ones then?
Go to merkleretirementplanning.com. We'll show you a list of the different available classes, and then you can RSVP right online.
I love that they're becoming more specific, so you really get
This is
everything
awesome.
that you're looking for.
Yeah, it makes sense. You know, if you're a retiree sitting in a class where we're talking about Social Security for 20 minutes, you've already taken your Social Security, does that really
doesn't make
impact
any
you?
sense. sense, yeah.
So we're just trying to give you the best value for your time.
Because everybody's time is valuable, and you realize
Exactly.
that. Wonderful.
Okay, so go check them out online, find out what class is meant for you, and make sure you RSVP right away because they do fill up fast. Great information this morning, Lauren. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Great job as always.